Hey there, I'm Ethan. I'm 25 years old, living in the suburbs of Boise, Idaho. Not quite a big city guy, but close enough to keep life humming. I'm an electrician, not just some dude with tools pretending to know what's up. I trained, got certified, and landed a job with a small local electrical company, State Electric. We're not a huge operation, but we've got steady work. I handle 2 or 3 service calls a day, enough to cover bills, save a bit, and fuel my dream of starting my own business someday. It's a simple life, but it's mine, carved out one job at a time under the wide Idaho sky. That morning started like any other. I had 2 jobs lined up. First was a quick fix at an office downtown, a faulty wall outlet, nothing exciting. Then dispatch called with the new gig. A woman just outside Boise needed someone to check the lights in her garage. Something about them flickering randomly. Not an emergency, but she wanted it done today. I grabbed the address, punched it into my GPS, and hit the road. The drive took me past Boise's bustling core, where the city fades into quiet, sprawling suburbs, the kind where the air smells of pine and possibility. The place was off the main road in a peaceful neighborhood with big, well-kept homes. As I pulled up, I paused. It was a sleek, 2-story modern house with a wide driveway and a glossy black gate already open for me. Impressive, like something out of a magazine, with clean lines and windows that caught the morning sun. Not my usual call. I parked, grabbed my toolbox, and walked up the private path to the garage. As I neared the side entrance, the door swung open, and there she was. Tall, maybe 30 or 31, with long black hair tied in a loose ponytail, wearing simple jeans and a fitted t-shirt. But it wasn't just her looks stunning, with an effortless beauty that hit like a quiet lightning bolt. It was her presence, confident and graceful, like she owned every inch of the space around her. She gave me a quick glance, then looked down at her phone. "You here for the garage lights?" she asked, her voice cool, almost detached. "Yep." "Ethan from State Electric," I replied. "You said they're flickering." She nodded, pointing toward the garage. "They cut out whenever I open the door. Sometimes they come back, sometimes not. It's annoying." Her words were clipped, but her eyes lingered on me a moment longer than necessary, sparking a curiosity I couldn't place. "Got it. I'll take a look," I said. She didn't say more, just turned and slipped back into the house through the garage's interior door. I watched her go, her silhouette framed by the soft light inside, and felt a strange pull, like the air had shifted. I set my gear down and got to work. The issue was straightforward: old wiring on the motion sensor poorly installed. Whoever did it had cut corners. I killed the power, removed the old unit, cleaned up the wiring, and installed a proper motion sensor with an updated housing. Took about 2 hours, including testing. The garage was quiet, the only sounds my tools clinking and the distant hum of Boise's suburbs waking up. The whole time she didn't say a word. No small talk, no check-ins, just silence. When I was done, I packed up, flipped the breaker back on, and tested the lights a few more times. Perfect. I knocked on the interior door and waited. A few seconds later, she reappeared. This time, her phone was gone, and her presence filled the space, warm and disarming. She walked over, watching the lights flare to life with the motion sensor, and gave a small smile. It was subtle, but it lit up her face, softening the sharp edges I'd noticed earlier. Finally, she said, "They're working like they should." "Yeah?" I nodded. It was a wiring issue. Replaced the sensor too, just to be safe. "Should be good now." She crossed her arms, tilting her head slightly. Her gaze was steady, appraising, like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're good at what you do." "Thanks," I said, grinning. "Appreciate that." And then, out of nowhere, she said it. "You're handsome, you know that." Her words landed like a spark, catching me off guard, igniting something in the quiet garage. I blinked, completely thrown. Thanks," I said, letting out an awkward laugh. My face warmed and I scrambled for something to say, but her eyes held mine steady and unapologetic. She smiled again, and this time it felt different, not teasing but genuine, like she'd let a piece of herself slip through. Then she leaned against the doorframe. "So Ethan, what else do you do besides fixing stuff?" Her tone was light, but there was a challenge in it, an invitation I hadn't expected. I was caught off guard again. Sure, I'd had friendly clients before, but none like this. None like her, with a presence that made the room feel smaller, the air heavier. "Not much," I said, recovering. "Work takes up most of my time. I'm not big on partying or going out. More of a quiet evenings and early mornings guy." I shrugged, trying to sound casual, but her gaze made it hard to stay steady. She nodded slowly, like she was weighing my words. "That's refreshing. I'm not really into the whole social scene either." Her admission surprised me. She didn't seem like someone who stayed home on weekends. She looked like she belonged front row at a trendy lounge or on a yacht somewhere. But the way she said it felt real, not rehearsed. Her voice softened, carrying a hint of vulnerability that tugged at me. I mean, she continued, "People make assumptions when you look a certain way. It gets exhausting." I nodded, unsure what to say. Her words hung in the air, raw and honest, like she'd peeled back a layer she rarely showed. Then she added, "I know this is random, but want to hang out this weekend?" The question hit like a quiet thunderclap, bold and unexpected. I froze for half a second. "Like hang out?" I asked, needing to be sure. She smiled, unfazed. "Yeah, like that. Somewhere nice, somewhere quiet. You don't have to answer now." Her confidence was magnetic, but her eyes held a flicker of hope, like she was taking a risk. I hesitated, then said I'd like that. Her smile widened just a touch. "Great. I'll text you details. Thanks again for the lights." And with that, she turned and walked back into the house, leaving me standing in the garage, heart racing like I'd just stepped into a story I didn't know I was part of. I got in my truck, closed the door, and sat there for a minute. What just happened? The rest of the day felt like a haze. I drove to my next job, fixing a busted outlet at some guy's workshop, smiling through small talk, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept checking my phone every 15 minutes like a fool, half expecting a text, half convinced I'd imagined the whole thing. But nothing. No messages, no missed calls, just silence. I didn't even know her name. I'd done the whole job without asking, all professional. And then she dropped that line at the end like a grenade. "Want to hang out this weekend?" And I'd said yes, just like that. Friday came and went. Still nothing. I started thinking maybe she was just being polite, or maybe it was some rich person game, something to laugh about with her friends later. I asked out the electrician. Can you believe it? I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. People say random things. But then, around noon on Friday, a text popped up from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Claire from the lights. Still up for Saturday? I'll pick you up. Noon. Drop a pin." My stomach flipped. Claire. Now I had a name. And she remembered. I didn't overthink it. I sent her a location, a public parking lot outside a hardware store near downtown Boise. Not my place, not too far, just neutral. She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Simple, but it set my pulse racing. Saturday morning, I was ready way too early. I tried on 3 shirts, basically the same, but I was overthinking it. Polished my boots, even shaved, which I never do on weekends. I wanted to look like me, but sharper, like I belonged in her world, even for a day. I got to the lot by 11:45, sitting on the curb pretending to scroll my phone while sneaking glances at every car that pulled in. At 12:02, I heard the unmistakable roar of something powerful. I looked up. There she was, driving a silver Porsche 911 turbo top-down, sunglasses on. Her black hair flowed in the wind, catching the sunlight like a scene from a movie. I swear everyone in that lot turned to stare first at her, then at me standing there like a delivery guy waiting for a tip. She waved. "Ethan." I nodded, trying to play it cool, and opened the passenger door. The leather seats smelled of luxury, and she radiated it citrus and something expensive I couldn't name. "Hop in," she grinned. As we hit the highway, I finally asked, "So, where are we going?" "There's a place I go to clear my head," she said. "You'll like it, I promise." Her voice was warm, confident, but there was a softness there, like she was sharing something personal. We drove about 40 minutes, rolling hills, dense forests, then narrower roads. The Idaho landscape unfolded like a painting, all greens and golds under an endless sky. Finally, she turned onto a gravel path leading into a thick grove. I heard rushing water before I saw anything. She parked, and we walked a short trail, maybe 5 minutes, until it opened up. A small waterfall cascaded into a clear pool surrounded by rocks and towering trees. It was breathtaking, serene, yet powerful, like a secret the world had forgotten. I looked at Claire. She wasn't smiling, not in a sad way, just calm, focused. Her presence grounded the moment, like she belonged here, and somehow so did I. "This place," she said softly, "makes me feel small. In a good way." Her words carried a quiet reverence, like she was letting me into a sacred part of her life. We sat on a flat rock far enough from the spray. She slipped off her sandals, dipping her toes in the water. I followed. The cold bit at first, then soothed, grounding me in the moment. She stared ahead and said, "I know what you're thinking." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah, you're wondering why someone like me asked someone like you out here." Her bluntness caught me, but she wasn't wrong. I didn't answer, mostly because she was right. She kept looking at the water. "My dad owns a big logistics company. My mom runs HR for the family business. My life was paid for before I was 10 cars, private schools, connections, all of it." Her voice was steady, but there was a weight to it, like she was unburdening herself. I stayed quiet as she continued. "But growing up, everyone treated me like a label. The rich girl, the perfect one. Guys wanted the idea of me. Girls either wanted to be me or hated me. I never felt seen. Not really. Until I met someone who didn't know my last name." "You mean me?" I said cautiously. She nodded. "You didn't ask about my life. You didn't try to impress me. You did your job, said thanks, and left. That's rare. You were just you." Her words hit deep, like she'd seen something in me I hadn't even noticed myself. I didn't know what to say, so I went with the truth. "I thought you were just messing with me." She finally looked at me, her eyes softening. "I get that, but I wasn't." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was thoughtful, like we were both weighing what this meant. She smiled faintly. "I'm not asking for anything complicated. I just want to talk to someone who doesn't want something from me." Her vulnerability was raw, disarming, and it pulled me closer. "I get it," I said. "No strings." She nodded. "Thanks." We sat there for maybe an hour, talking, laughing a bit, sharing silly stories. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in months, like the world had slowed down just for us. As the sun started to dip, she stood brushing gravel off her jeans. "Time to go." "Yeah," she said. but I'm glad you came." Her words warmed me, simple but sincere. The drive back was quiet, comfortable, just the sound of wind on the open road. No music, no need for it, the moment was enough. She dropped me off where she'd picked me up. I reached for the door, hesitated, then looked at her. "Will we do this again?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Maybe if you call me." Her smile was playful, but her eyes held a promise. I stepped out, closed the door, and watched her drive off. As her car vanished, I realized this wasn't just a date, not exactly. It was something more, a beginning I couldn't yet define. The days after our trip felt different. I went through my usual routine, fixing outlets, swapping panels, replacing blown fuses, but I wasn't on autopilot anymore. Claire had slipped into my thoughts, not loud or overwhelming, but like a soft melody I couldn't turn off. Gentle, steady, always there. The weird thing, she didn't text, not once. I wasn't expecting a flood of messages, but after how open she'd been at the waterfall, I thought there'd be something. A hey that was cool, or even a random meme. But nothing. I started doubting myself. Maybe she just needed someone to vent to. Maybe I was just her one-day confidant, the nice working-class guy she could open up to because I wasn't part of her world. But something stopped me from letting it go. Maybe it was the way she looked at me before I got out of her car, or how she said, "Maybe if you call me," like she was passing me the ball and walking off the court. So I called her. It was the Friday after our trip. I was parked outside a hardware store sipping bad coffee, trying to convince myself I wasn't nervous. I pulled out my phone and hit her name. She answered on the third ring. "Hey," she said, her voice warm, familiar. It was like no time had passed, like we'd just been talking yesterday. "Hey, it's Ethan." "I know," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I was hoping you'd call." Her words eased the tension I hadn't realized I was carrying. "Want to meet up again?" I asked. "This time I'll plan it." There was a pause, then "I'd like that." Her voice was soft, but there was an excitement in it that made my heart skip. We settled on Sunday afternoon. I told her I'd pick her up. She didn't ask where we were going, just said, "All right, I'll be ready." Her trust in me felt like a gift, simple but profound. I didn't know what someone like Claire would expect from a second meetup, but I knew what I wanted. Something real, not flashy. So I planned a picnic. Yeah, a legit picnic. I borrowed a blanket from my mom, packed sandwiches, fruit, and a few glass bottles of lemonade. I even bought a small cooler for the occasion. Then I went online and rented a car, nothing fancy, just clean. A silver 2018 Camry. I wanted it to feel like me, but polished, like I could meet her halfway. Sunday afternoon, I pulled up to her house, that same sprawling place with the wide driveway and modern glass windows. The Boise sun glinted off the roof, casting a golden glow over everything. She was waiting outside, wearing a green hoodie and black leggings. No makeup, no sunglasses, no Porsche, just Claire, radiant in her simplicity. She smiled as she slid into the passenger seat. "Hey, picnic guy." I grinned. "You ready for the surprise always?" she said, her eyes sparkling. Her playfulness was infectious, pulling me into the moment. We drove about 30 minutes out of town to a spot I used to visit with my dad when I was a kid, an open clearing near the edge of a dense oak forest. It had a view of rolling hills with a sky that stretched forever, quiet enough to make you realize how loud everyday life is. We parked under some trees, carried everything out, and spread the blanket on the grass. The air was warm, scented with earth and pine, wrapping us in a perfect moment. I poured lemonade into plastic cups as she sat cross-legged watching clouds drift. I don't remember the last time I did something like this, she said. A picnic? No something, uncurated, uncontrolled, not Instagrammable. She paused, her voice softening. This feels real. Her words hit me, grounding the moment in something deeper. We ate, laughed about how badly I peeled the oranges, talked about random stuff, childhood memories, weird clients' favorite songs. She didn't try to impress me, and I didn't try to impress her. It just flowed easy and true. Then there was a moment. She went quiet, staring at the trees, sunlight brushing her face just right. She was beautiful, not in a polished way, but in a way that felt alive, unguarded. She turned to me slowly and said, "You know what I liked most about the other day? What you didn't look at me like you wanted something from me. Not money, not attention, not even validation. You just saw me." Her words were a quiet confession, raw and powerful, pulling me closer. I swallowed, unsure how to respond. She leaned forward slightly, and I met her halfway. The kiss was soft, unhurried, like a silent agreement between us. It felt right, like we'd both been waiting for it. When we pulled back, she smiled faintly. "I was hoping you'd do that." "I wasn't sure I could," I said. "You're kind of intimidating," she laughed. "I know, I'd do it on purpose. Keeps the creeps away." Her laugh was warm, easing any lingering tension. We spent another hour lying on the blanket, watching the trees sway in the breeze. The world felt far away, like it was just us, untethered from everything else. As the sun dipped, she reached for my hand. "I don't know what this is," she said softly, "but I like it." "Me too," I said, squeezing her hand. Her touch was grounding, a promise we didn't need to name. On the drive back, we didn't say much, but not because we had nothing to say. We didn't need to. The silence was enough, warm and full. She let me drive right to her front door, no gate drop-off. Before getting out, she turned to me. "Text me, okay?" Her eyes held mine, soft but certain. Anytime I said. She slipped out, and I sat there a moment, the scent of lemon and lavender lingering, wrapping me in the memory of her. I didn't know what came next, but I knew this wasn't a one-time thing. The next few days felt lighter. Not because anything huge happened, just a feeling like waking up without a weight on your chest. Work wasn't a slog anymore. Driving from job to job felt purposeful. Claire was in my head, not overwhelming but steady like a heartbeat. I started texting her more. Nothing intense, just real stuff. Just fixed a ceiling fan one-handed while holding a flashlight in my mouth. Not bragging, just heroic. "Your turn." She'd reply, "Spilled coffee on my silk shirt during a Zoom with 12 people. Beat that?" We laughed, shared songs, sent pictures of clouds we thought looked like random things. It was like we were building something without trying to define it. But I still didn't know where I stood. She was gorgeous, confident, wealthy. I was just me, work boots, hands stained with grease, a regular guy. The idea that she'd pick me over anyone in her orbit felt almost too good to be true. A week after the picnic, she texted me Thursday night. "You free tomorrow night?" I shot back. "Technically free, emotionally unavailable, professionally underpaid. Why?" She replied, "Come over. My parents are out for a week. I want to show you something." Her invitation was a leap, the first time she'd asked me into her world, beyond the garage, beyond the heart of Boise. Friday night, I wore my go-to jeans and a cleanest navy shirt I owned. The Boise sunset painted the sky gold as I pulled into her driveway. The front door was ajar. She was barefoot in the foyer, in a loose sweater and leggings, hair in a messy bun, no makeup. She looked serene, her beauty raw and unguarded, like she'd let down every wall for me. "Hey," she said, stepping aside, "come in." I walked into the foyer, high-ceilinged all-glass walls and warm lighting. The house was stunning modern, but lived in like it carried her essence. It was warm, inviting, not cold. She led me through the house to the kitchen. 2 plates were set on the island, candles flickering. The setup was intimate, like we'd done this 100 times. "You cooked?" I asked, surprised. "Technically," she grinned. "I ordered from a place I love and reheated it. Local vibes." Her playfulness was infectious, pulling me deeper into her orbit. We ate on the patio under string lights, the cool Boise night wrapping around us like a cocoon. She tossed me a hoodie, said it was probably an ex's. I didn't ask questions. Conversation flowed. She talked about her marketing job for a startup rebranding sustainable packaging. Her passion was clear, her eyes bright with ideas. I shared my dream of starting a small repair service, training young guys who skipped college like me. It felt like we were building something, not just talking dreams. Then she stood. "Come on, I want to show you something." She led me upstairs to a room at the end of the hall. My heart raced as she opened the door, revealing a small art studio. Canvases leaned against walls, some unfinished, some vibrant, raw expressions of her soul. It was a glimpse into her unguarded and real. "You paint?" I asked, stunned. She nodded. "Not for anyone, just for me." Her voice was soft, almost shy, like she was sharing a secret. I stepped in, taking it in. She stood behind me. "This is the only place I feel like myself. No makeup, no expectations, no pressure." Her words were a confession, raw and powerful. I turned to her. "You should feel like yourself all the time." I meant it, every word. She looked at me, and for a second her confidence wavered. She stepped closer. "I don't know what this is between us, Ethan," she said softly. "But I'm not pretending when I'm with you. That matters to me." Her vulnerability was a beacon drawing me in. "I don't know what it is either," I said, "but I'm always thinking about you." We stood there, surrounded by her art, her truth, and I kissed her again. This time there was no hesitation, no question, just certainty, like we'd both let ourselves believe in this. It was real, electric hours. That night, we sat on her couch, legs tangled, an old movie playing in the background. The room was soft, warm, hers. She rested her head on my shoulder. "You're the first person I've let in like this in a long time," she whispered. Her words were a gift, fragile and precious. "And I'm not going anywhere," I said. She smiled, a hint of sadness. "Don't say that unless you mean it." I meant it. I said every word true. We fell asleep on the couch, the Boise night wrapping us in its quiet embrace. I woke at 2 a.m. to soft rain on the windows. She was there, sleeping, her hand on my chest like it belonged. I didn't want to move, didn't want the moment to end. I didn't know what came next, whether our worlds would collide, whether hers would pull me under. But for now, I wasn't feel like just an electrician. I felt seen. It's been 6 months since I first knocked on Claire's garage door. I can still picture it, her cool, clipped tone, the way she pointed at the broken lights like I was just another service call. I was there for a few hours fixing wires, thinking that was it. But somewhere between frayed cords and flickering bulbs, a spark caught, one that changed everything. We kept seeing each other after that night at her house. Not everyday life work routines, but enough for it to feel right, like it was meant to be. Sunday evenings turned into full weekends. Texts became calls. Awkward silences became comfortable ones, spaces where we didn't need words. There wasn't a dramatic turning point. No will you be mine moment. It grew slowly, honestly, and that's what made it real. But reality has layers. Dating someone like Claire came with its own set of rules. It started with the looks, the ones you get when you walk into a restaurant and people notice her. Not from TV, but from being someone part of a world I didn't know. They looked at me like I'd wandered into the wrong seat. Once at her friend's engagement party, everyone wore tailored suits and cocktail dresses talking stocks and startups. I stood there in my best shirt sipping ginger beer because I was driving counting the minutes. That night I told her I felt out of place. She looked at me and said, "That's because you're not like them, and that's exactly why I brought you here." Her words were a lifeline, but it didn't make it easier. Her world wasn't the only one shifting, mine was too. My boss noticed I was distracted. I started turning down extra calls not out of laziness, but because I cared more about being somewhere than doing something, for a guy who'd always defined himself by work that was new. Claire saw it. One night at my small, messy, lived-in Boise apartment, she sat cross-legged on my couch, flipping through an old high school yearbook I didn't even know I still had. Her presence made my space feel warmer, more alive. "You've built a good life here," she said, genuine. "It's not much," I replied, "but it's mine." She looked around at the tools by the door, the cracked countertop, the one thrift store painting hanging slightly crooked. "I like it," she said, and I believed her. That night we talked for hours about where we were, what we wanted, not fairy tales, but real, grounded dreams. She told me she was thinking of quitting her job, tired of pretending to care about numbers she didn't believe in. She wanted something smaller, meaningful, maybe creative. I told her I was thinking about registering my own business, buying a truck, building a brand, not just working for someone else, but creating something I could call mine. Then she said something I didn't expect. "What if we built something together?" I looked at her. "Like us?" She nodded. "Yeah, like us. That was 2 months ago. Since then, things have shifted, good shifts. She's helped me mock up a logo, a website, even a basic marketing plan. I'm still working, still climbing ladders, still getting paint on my boots, but it feels different now. I'm not just patching things up, I'm moving forward. We're not rushing anything. We live our own lives, keep our own mornings, our own bad habits, but we choose each other day after day." Last weekend, we went back to the waterfall. Same spot, same rock, but this time we brought coffee and donuts. I put my arm around her. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and for a long time, we just listened to the water. The moment was perfect, quiet hours. She said I never thought I'd fall for the guy who fixed my lights. I laughed. I never thought the girl who owned that house would ask me back. She smiled. "Well, you're not just the electrician anymore." I didn't say anything. I just kissed her temple, forehead, and held her tighter because she was right. I'm more than that. I'm still Ethan, still 25, still figuring it out, one job, one bill, one step at a time. Asterisk, asterisk. But now there's someone who sees me. Not for anyone else, but for who I am. And maybe that's the real story here. Not the rich girl meeting the working guy, not the Porsche or the picnic, not the kiss, but two people from different lives choosing to build something new together. No drama, no fireworks, just a connection. Real, messy, imperfect, and beautiful.